Too Many Men on the Mic, presented by Netfront LLC. Now here's Coach Drew and Coach Jared.
Oh man, some good guitar work going on right there.
Absolutely. I scoured up and down and all around to find royalty-free music because I didn't get a chance to record.
We're gonna have to insert our own music there.
Yeah, for those of you who are listening to this on Thursday, the 12th, you are a week out from
2019. Too Many Men on the Mic acoustic duo over at the Tapawingo Golf Club, home of the Bacardi family, a great beef hockey family. And they just happen to be located in St. Louis. So we'll be picking and grinning over there from 6 to 9.
Spring is in the air, and that means golf and good music.
It does.
Yeah.
And we're continuing our tour. And this week I am pumped because we're highlighting the great state of Alaska, which we have not talked to yet. We've talked to Omaha, Pensacola, Louisville, oh my gosh, California, New York. We've covered so much ground. We have not covered the great
Finland and
Alaska.
Finland and Sweden.
Finland and Sweden. That's right.
Yes.
So today it's all about Alaska. And
we're welcoming in Kirk Kullberg, who is a director of hockey, one of the directors of hockey in the Anchorage, Alaska Hockey Association. They've got a great story to tell. It's a well-established youth hockey league that's been around for, I think, over 60 years now. 1961. So they actually predate some of our
math wins.
Yeah, undefeated. Math is undefeated, and they predate even some of our organizations here in the St. Louis area. So without further ado, let's bring on Kirk Kullberg to the show.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Kirk, welcome to the Too Many Men on the Mic show, and thanks for spending time highlighting the great things that are going on in youth hockey in Alaska. Before you joined, you were telling us a little bit about a little bit of off-ice facility that you built there. So why don't you share with the listeners how you're improving the environment over at Anchorage Youth Hockey with your off-ice facility?
Well, as we are the biggest program in the city of Anchorage, one of the biggest ones in the state. I think it kind of goes back and forth between us and Fairbanks, who's bigger. And so we felt a need from our membership to kind of enhance we wanted, what's a perk of being a member of the Anchorage Hockey Association? And we felt like off-ice training was going to be one of the things that was next for us. I don't know what they pay for ice in the lower 48 everywhere we go, other when we rent it for tournaments and stuff like that. But here it's, $385 to $500 an hour, which is crazy in a state that's cold and you can go skate outside.
Yeah, no kidding. You guys have ODRs, I would think, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have one in my backyard that's 70 by 40, and that's a good rink from end of October, maybe early November through March. But the off-ice training was a big thing that we felt we needed to incorporate, and so we're in the end of our first season with this off-ice facility. It's got a full-on parent lounge, shooting lanes. We have we call it our cognitive training area, where we can do like reaction-based stuff. And some teams just come in here and do like yoga. And then other teams come in here and they take advantage of shooting pucks and stick handling and whatnot. So,
I love it. Well, you don't let any of the parents into the shooting lane, right? You keep them in the parents' lounge, right? Yeah,
they got a glass area. They get to, it's like a zoo. They just get to hang out behind the glass and watch the animals train.
Drew and I were a part of an organization where we built out an off-ice facility. Sounds very similar to yours. And I think the biggest piece of that, obviously getting kids in to be able to be with their team and save a few bucks when you're working on passing and shooting, but it's also the community aspect. I'm sure you guys have trophies and banners and medals, and when those kids come in as mini mites, 6Us and 8Us, and they see that, they see the older kids and what they can shoot for. It's got to be great and just a great culture and environment for them.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. That's cool to have that, just everything about your organization encompassed in one little area.
Tell our listeners a little bit about Anchorage Youth Hockey. You probably have lots of different players in your organization, boys and girls, I would imagine. How many members are there? And then tell us a little bit about all the different levels in your organization.
We have every level. So we start with the little learn to skate kids at 3 and 4 years old at the Diamond Center, with programs of learn to play and 6U there, all the way through 8U red, white, and blue, just like per USA Hockey. And then we have full-fledged rec and comp programs for both boys and girls. So we field teams at the national bound level for tier 2 for boys and girls. And then we have our developmental programs at 10U and 12U. Alaska does do something kind of weird where it's not necessarily classified like it is down in lower 48. We have 10U and 12U. We call them major and minor. So, those kids play in the Alaska League. And then we also have our rec programs with our recreational B and our recreational A divisions.
Sounds like, although you guys are isolated, you call us the lower 48, which I absolutely love. Sounds like, though, the journey from mite to 18U for boys and mite to 19U for girls, it's a similar trajectory. You guys are national bound. In fact, my son at 14U played Team Alaska in nationals up in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Unbelievable talent and competitive group of kids that we played against then, and that was 5 years ago. Talk a little bit about, when you go from that rec league to your team, your Alaska league, into that 14U, 15U, 16U bracket. What in Missouri and in other places, you tend to, the teams there's less teams and the talent gets a little bit more filtered. How do you work that with kids that maybe aren't at AA or even that AAA level as they progress to 14U and 16U? What are their options and where can they get to play? And what does that development journey look like?
Well, the nice thing about Alaska is everyone knows everyone, right? Like everyone knows everyone in a specific birth year. And so we have a great feeder system. Like our Anchorage Hockey Association has a big rec program that feeds our comp program that then in turn feeds Team Alaska, right? And Team Alaska being our tier 1 program housed underneath the state affiliation. So there's always a spot for any one of them to play. I would say, developmentally, it's been a process. Matt Thompson's done a great job of kind of creating this environment for Team Alaska to thrive in and keep kids back in Alaska. And that gives something for all those kids. You want all those programs to look up to each other. So you want the Rec B kids to see the Rec A kids and be like, I'm going to be that next year.
Right.
And then the Rec A kids are like, I'm making a comp team. I'm going to a camp. I'm doing power skating. I'm doing whatever. I'm going to work out all summer, and I'm going to make a comp team in August. Typically, our tryouts for our comp programs are the second week of August, which is kind of weird, but it works out. And then, those kids who played tier 2, they're like, I'm going to make Team Alaska 15 only or 16s next year. And so I think for us, it's pretty simple. Like, right, it's just the landscape is there, and kids just have the ability to go play where they fit in.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about what role does hockey play in the culture of Anchorage? And you have a very large indigenous community there. Is that part of the culture that feeds into hockey, and is there outreach to that community that goes on?
Yeah, and I would say I couldn't give you specific numbers because we just go like, hey, everybody's in this program, and I don't even know if we look at numbers based off of ethnicity or like whether they're indigenous people or not. I think that we just have like a big family and everybody's a part of it. I know that we've had more outreach recently because we've had a good relationship with the Seattle Kraken, and that's brought the NHL Kraken Learn to Play program. I'm pretty good friends with Marty Halinka, who's the youth director for Seattle Kraken. And this all kind of started a long time ago with this camp I run. They wanted to come up here and run a camp. They ended up just joining with me. And now we have Kraken Week at the Anchorage Hockey Academy every year. And then that fed into, now we're going to do the Kraken Learn to Play once a year and get another 100+ kids into the game. Well, Bristol Bay Native Corporation's affiliated with the Seattle Kraken. They're good with us. And so we just kind of have this trio of how many kids can we get into the game in one summer. And so that's been awesome because that's also given us this great process for, like, hockey's an expensive sport. And the most expensive part of joining a program is buying all the gear. So when you get into that NHL Learn to Play program and then you get this kid who maybe couldn't have afforded to be able to buy the gear, gets a full set head to toe, 10, 12 practices. Now they love the game. Done, right? That kid's hooked for life. And then, they get to grow with all the same reasons that we love hockey, building good people. So I'd say that was a roundabout answer to say, like, I think there's good outreach, and I think that everyone gets incorporated as much as they want to be.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Yep. You gotta get the Kraken up there to play a game like Mystery Alaska, that movie. You got to get them up there. Maybe get them and the Canucks to play a game up in Anchorage.
Unreal. I would be a legend if I could sort that
out. Well, we would love to come up to Alaska and broadcast live with that game. So let's put our heads together and figure that out. That sounds like a pretty good idea, right? We were talking about Oregon last week, but we've got a little further afield with coming up to Alaska in this show. So that would be really, really cool. Tell us a little bit about, hockey teams, hockey organizations. They try to build an identity and a culture. Here in St. Louis, we've got, 12 different organizations, and each organization has their own, what they're known for, whether it's high skill, gritty, tough play, kind of blue collar. Talk a little bit about beyond just the skill development with Anchorage and Anchorage hockey. What's kind of that identity that you and your fellow coaches and directors try to instill with those kids that they take beyond, just their youth hockey?
I would say a friend of mine, Clint Lancaster, once told me, we had this discussion, like, what do we want our identity to be, our mission to be? And we came up with, we make good people that play hockey. And understandably that, we want to build like a system of work ethic and sportsmanship and just good human beings. And so I'd say that's our biggest identity, right? That's the culture that we want to portray. I don't know that we get portrayed as like the winners all the time, or even though, like, I think our team,
that's worth applause there, my friend.
I appreciate that. We do have 2 national bound teams that are going to, or 2 teams from our program, the 14U North Stars and the 16U North Stars, are now going to compete for nationals. So, the end game does work. If you do the right things for the right reasons, eventually you get rewarded. That's the way it is. So we really impress upon, like, the building good human being things. And we do that by trying to provide this environment where we have the coaches that are in the right spots and the coaches that we want to be there that are creating good human beings and reinforcing the good habits.
Can I follow up on that? Because you mentioned coaches, and we're all coaches here. Drew and I, kind of grew up with this sport. So with us, it was kind of, as we had kids, it was an easy transition. Are there a lot of coaches, volunteer coaches in your organization that, kind of came to hockey because their kids found it? And how are you developing, those great coaches to create a pipeline of talent from the coaching ranks?
It's funny that you asked that specifically, because I always have this joke, like the number of dads that I've taught them how to skate with their kids. Like, they're like, hey, I was like, I'd come out and help you, but I don't know how to skate. And I'm like, dude, USA hockey number, put a helmet on, I will show you. And that's the number of guys that's happened with, or girls. It's been unbelievable. And I think growing the coaching core is probably one of the biggest struggles, right? Because, like, the number of volunteers that you have really is the backbone of your organization. That's the way it is. And Anchorage Hockey Association, I would say 95% of our coaches are volunteers. I say that because I think we have a couple of comp coaches right now that are not dads on the team. So they get paid a stipend, and they earn that. They put in the work. But everything else, all of our rec program coaches, all of our Little Dipper, C-Pup coaches, and I'm talking about programs that we have right now, they're all volunteers. And so our Mike program alone has 85 different coaches. And so each one of those is like, we're trying to build this 6-to-1, 4-to-1, 5-to-1 ratio on the ice. And also the coaching education aspect for us has been huge. So we have coaches symposiums amongst our own organization where we bring in a highly sought after coach like a Nick Walters, who formerly was with University of Alaska Anchorage with the Wolverines, then kind of just floating around like gun for hire, I'll call him. We bring him in. Hey, come talk to our coaches about power play and make it to where it's an environment where those volunteer coaches want to learn. It's awesome, right? Because they all want to get better. They all want to be good at what they're doing. And so we get a mixture of the coaches that learn to play, and then you get the mixture of the coaches that they grew up playing here. They're former UAA players. I'd say we took a hit now that the Aces aren't around. I don't know if you ever heard of the Alaska Aces. That was our former ECHL team.
ECHL team.
What's that?
ECHL team.
Yeah. And so we banked on those guys. Like they stayed here, they played here, they retired, then they coach youth teams. Well, I don't have that anymore. So that kind of sucks. But so now we're developing homegrown coaches or getting, like I'm going to throw a guy out here right now in our 8U Red program, and our Learn to Play program is Joey Crabb. Joey Crabb played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And the best part was my son's on the ice. My 14-year-old son's on the ice helping me, and he's a big Toronto Maple Leafs fan. And he goes, Dad, that guy's wearing Toronto Maple Leaf gloves. And I was like, yeah, that's Joey Crabb. He played for him. And he just couldn't even go near him. It's hilarious. and so you have a range of guys like that. And then like the dad that we taught how to skate last season with his kid because he wanted to get involved. So.
And do those coaches, I got to ask, now that you trained them and got them on the ice and got them to a place where they're comfortable and they're coaching, does that extend into men's? What's the men's league look like up there?
Yep. That's usually what I see about year 2 or 3 with them is then they start, they friend me on Facebook and I see them score their first goal or they're playing some adult league game. And yeah, it's that.
I've never heard of a men's league coach pulling up a live bar. Never heard of it. Never heard of it.
Oh, the St. Louis flag fell.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. We'll take that.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that you're developing dads along with the kids, and I love that there's an extension into men's hockey. That's fantastic. And like a lot of organizations that we've talked to all over the country, that's a common theme, right? We're training up dads and moms that maybe haven't been exposed to the game and putting them in a position to learn the game and coach. I
mean, here in St. Louis, where we have an NHL market that's been here since 1967, not as long as Anchorage is. That's math, and math is undefeated. But it was amazing to me as I was coaching my sons. The dads who would, some moms too, but mostly dads, would be so on their kids. Oh my gosh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And mind you, they're great hockey fans, but their exposure to the game is watching the best of the best play it on. And so our team manager, I'll never forget this. My older son was in 10. Team manager said to these dads, well, you guys still play? And they're like, we can't skate. And so by the end of that season, they started with an adult learn to play program that we have here in St. Louis. And I think about 3 practices in, they were like, my kid is so good at hockey. and to their credit, a couple of those dads became coaches. And all of them are still playing adult hockey and probably became better hockey parents because of the perspective that sometimes when somebody's voluntold to be a coach, they actually get a greater appreciation and greater perspective for the game than somebody who's played it since they were 8 years old.
Yep.
Hey, Kirk, tell us a little bit about how the opportunities that are available for kids to move on as they grow and develop in the game. So as they get out of, I should say, Pee Wee and get into the high school ranks, and then potentially junior opportunities. What's that look like up there?
So we have a good high school league, and I would say, unlike, or I guess not unlike, not like most programs, we have kind of like a weird dynamic with high school hockey, right? You have like the Bantams, the 14-year-olds, the freshmen that they can, they kind of like, they're kind of Gumby. Their seasons kind of run all year long, and so they kind of dual participate. They play high school and on their comp teams pretty much the entire year. The 16U and 18U teams, they have a little bit heavier schedule when it comes to high school hockey, so they, for the most part, those national bound teams shut down. This year specifically, the Team Alaska kids didn't participate in it. There's, trust me, you don't want me to get into like that dynamic. It was what it was, but it gave some of the younger kids an opportunity to be able to participate in high school hockey. And my son got to do it for the first time this year, which is great. He's a freshman, so I got to watch him play against 18-year-olds as a 14-year-old. And that's a cool dynamic to see, are they either going to sink or they're going to swim. And I think that's been good for him and kids like him. As far as the junior teams go and like how kids get opportunities, we've had plenty of players from our Team Alaska teams this year have gotten to play NAL games within, amongst the 3 NAL teams that we have. Because we have the Fairbanks Ice Dogs up north. We have the Anchorage Wolverines here in town. And then we have the Kenai Brown Bears down 3 hours away. So, and there's been a bunch of different kids that have gotten opportunities to kind of go there. Each one of those teams has Alaska-based kids on it, which is important, right? Like those, and even our Division I program, the Seawolves, they have a bunch of Anchorage and Alaska-based kids on their team as well. So it's important for other kids to see that too, right? Because we were talking about, the Rec B kids want to be the Rec A kids and so forth. Like getting to see those players from Alaska get those opportunities, and then how much they publicize it, that's important because kids know that there's an opportunity. We do as a state have a huge problem with kids leaving at young ages.
Yeah,
I mean, I think one of my buddies who was looking into it, or Matt Thompson, sorry, he's the Team Alaska director. He was telling me, I want to say it's like 40 kids in one birth year. It's like 2010s. 40 2010s or 09s are gone.
Wow.
And so that's huge. That's a big number.
Last minute of play in this period.
Let's put a pin in that. We've got to pay a couple bills. And I want to talk a little bit more about that high school dynamic. You're talking to 2 high school coaches here now. We've kind of graduated from club and gone over to the high school and seen that age gap versus those dual birth years or single birth year teams. It's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity, like you said, that leads to some great development. So if you can stick around, we're going to pay a couple bills, and we will be right back. St. Louis hockey families and business leaders, if you need custom gear that stands out and stands for something, it's time to meet 5B Designs. Founded by Shannon Brahini, a proud St. Louis mom and entrepreneur, 5B Designs is a woman-owned small business that brings purpose to custom apparel. Whether you're suiting up your youth or high school hockey team or leveling up your company's branded swag, 5B delivers top-notch quality with a personal touch. Need team stores? No problem. Corporate polos or event giveaways, they've got you covered. 5B makes it easy with fast turnaround, flexible service, and designs your players or employees will love to wear. Check them out at stores.inksoft.com/5B Designs. That's the word 5. And if you're watching on our YouTube feed, go ahead and scan the QR code up to the top right of your screen and see what great gear and great service looks like.
Hey, folks, I have a real quick favor to ask before we jump back in. If you're enjoying Too Many Men on the Mic, hit like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's a quick click for you, but it helps us grow the show and keep bringing you great hockey conversations. You can also follow us on Instagram by scanning the QR code at the top right corner of the screen. And be sure to download, follow, and rate the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts. Or go directly to our website, toomanymenonthemic.com. That's the number 2. Those are small things from you that help us keep delivering new guests downloadable coaching content, and more from the rink. All right, back to the show.
Back with Kirk from Anchorage Youth Association. I can hear the pucks flying in the background, Kirk. That's a good sound.
Yeah, a couple of kids stuck around there just training.
Love it. Love it. Well, so one of the things I've heard about your organization, and I want to give you an opportunity to kind of feature and spotlight it, is I hear that you host one of the largest B level youth hockey tournaments in the country. Tell our listeners about that and where that started and all that that's about.
We actually have a couple. So the Thanksgiving tournament's a pretty big one, and then the President's Day tournament is massive. It's actually spread out over 2 weekends, and it encompasses teams from all over the state. Brian Gross is our rec hockey director, and he's an unbelievable person. Like the guy has crazy drive, and like he's one of those people that when you sit across the table from him at a director's meeting, he goes, "Hey Brian, how's it going?" He goes, "Yeah, I'm just training for this triathlon." I'm like, when? You know,
humble brag.
I'm tired, dude. I'm tired just talking to you right now. Yeah, I want to say that on average, it's well over 100 teams, and it's, you know, again, teams from Delta, Tok, Healy, Fairbanks, Juneau, like again, the entire state of Alaska. So, and then of course we always have teams that come up from the lower 48, which is great too.
That's fantastic. I mean, over 100 teams, and the fact that you have to do a President's Tournament over 2 weekends, that just shows the outreach and the interest that you've had. That's fantastic. What's your secret to growing the game? Is it just what's the secret to making fun, and then having those clubs come back and having new clubs want to join?
I mean, we just make sure it's the most professional experience we possibly can when it comes to those tournaments, right? Like everything down from, you know, like how clean the building is. Everyone pitches in, you know, just because we're there as a tournament director or somebody's just there as doing clock and store, they're walking by, and this is across the entire community. They're walking around, they're picking up trash. Kids like, oh, you know, some kid wanders out of a locker room, needs his skates tied. It's not like, hey, where's your mom and dad? It's like, hey, kids, sit down, we'll help you out. You know, I think that type of like community and that type of like family environment that we culture, I think it's infectious and it's good. So I think it helps everything grow.
And so you're bringing all of these organizations, you know, teams from these different organizations in the state. I'm assuming probably getting some folks from Washington, maybe Idaho, Oregon. Anybody crossing the border coming up from Vancouver or Calgary or Edmonton or any of those locations in Canada? And when you're talking about your tier 2 and tier 3 teams, or tier 2 and tier 1 teams, what's their radius of travel? And this can also lead into some of that initiative to keep your players in the state.
I mean, I think it really depends on the coaches. So to backtrack, we've had teams up from Canada before. Every now and then we'll get like a white horse team that'll come into. We have this opening season tournament we call it Termination Dust. So the joke with Termination Dust is that when you look out on the mountains and you see the snow up there, summer's been terminated. And so that's kind of like winter. Was that joke from that show? Winter is coming. That's what it is. And Termination Dust is great for teams that are coming up from the lower 48 or Canada. I keep calling it lower 48. That should tell you we're the 49th state.
Yeah, yes.
So that's kind of like a great time for teams to come up because it's not cold. You know, it's cheaper to fly up here because tourism season's over, and you can still like run around and do a lot of the Alaska touristy stuff without, you know, the cost. So that tournament, we've had teams from White Horse, Kraken teams, Silver Tips. Yeah. And for us to travel outside, I would say there's really no restriction. It depends on the coach. So, I mean, my Pee Wee team went to Boston this year to play in the MLK showcase. And then we've gone to Vegas. We've gone to, you know, Dallas.
I saw some pictures of Tampa on the beach too.
Yep. We had teams go to Florida, which is like, that's about as far away as you could travel for hockey. And actually funny story. I took a Bantam team. 2017, we went to Florida. We went to nationals in Florida, hosted by at the Panthers Ice Den there.
Oh, that's
and the
awesome.
team that we ended up playing and lost to was the Fairbanks team. We just said we battled all season long, and then they got an at-large bid. We beat them in state. We won state, and then they got an at-large bid, and we lost to them at nationals.
I had to fly 9,000 miles to play these jokers. Come on.
Yeah.
That happens more often than you think. And that's just a testament to Alaska hockey, I would say. When you're in a tournament all the way in Florida and the two teams in the final are coming from the 49th state, that just is a huge testament to y'all. You had mentioned an initiative to try and, provide opportunity and keep as many of those homegrown players in Alaska for as long as you can. Talk a little bit about that. And if there's any connection to your Null teams or even to, Alaska Fairbanks, what is that relationship like? Talk a little bit about, expand on that initiative you were hinting at earlier.
Well, I think that really relies on Matt Thompson. And Matt Thompson and I went to the same high school. He's a great dude. He's really passionate about hockey. And he was the Anchorage Hockey Association executive director up until last year, and then went full-time to take over Team Alaska. And he's doing a phenomenal job with it. And I know he's created relationships with Rob Profit and Mr. Keel and the Wolverines and trying to make sure that those kids have that opportunity. But I think he's done a great job of fostering an environment that's supportive of those players staying here in Alaska. And that the testament to that is the 18U Tier 1 Team Alaska team is going to nationals. They won districts, so they'll be there. The 16U girls, they won districts. They will be at nationals. We have four. I actually had to look it up. We have four co-ed teams, or four boys teams, that are going to compete at nationals, and 3 girls teams. So we're getting that presence at the national bound level. And I just think that there just needs to be a little bit more buy-in from our hockey community. And then I think, because what's crazy is we'll have teams go play in the lower 48 against top 20 ranked teams, and they do well. And they don't even have the best players that are worth, in that berth year. So if you had those 40 kids to pick from that are missing because they went to go play outside, then, that is what it is. You're going to have those kids that have to leave, right? Like I'm sure you saw Carter Morris. Congratulations. Carter Morris just got picked to go to NTDP. That kid's got to go. But, we don't need 20 kids behind him to follow him.
Or try to follow him. That's the other thing. You're chasing a lot of folks. And this is that every organization has this, every state. There's the kids that, they know, it's just they have to go, whether they're in Michigan, Massachusetts, Minnesota, Tampa, or Phoenix, or Alaska. They've got a gift. They need to go take advantage of it. It's that next tier down where, it's like, gosh, why are you chasing? There's a great thing here. And, we have a little bit of that in St. Louis. And I know it happens everywhere. And it's that exact conversation I've had with plenty of coaches and executive directors over a few pops. How can we create an environment where kids want to stay? And then some come back, and that's a good thing too. I think this kind of goes into a little bit of the parent piece. Talk to us a little bit about the culture and the environment with parents. We're looking to always accentuate the positive, but we want to be real and talk a little bit about what are some of the things that the Alaska, the Anchorage, Association does to promote great parent support and behavior.
It's funny that this is coming up too, because I have one of those ones that I've gotten some phone calls about him, and he's 14 years old, about to turn 15. And you're like, do we send them? Do you? And you kind of look around the community and you just go like, I don't know if it's the right time. Like, I want to raise my own kid. Right. And so when it comes to the parents, we got to surround those kids with other people that are like that. And I think that when they have that kind of like that family mentality, or some people like to call it the Florida Panthers mentality, right? The family mentality. I think that makes it so kids want to stay home. And then I think as long as we keep pushing we're fostering good humans that play hockey, we're creating good people that play hockey, I think we're on the right track. I think that there's always going to be those people that you can't convince them one way or the other. right? There's like the illusion of there's this pipe dream over here that we got to go try and get behind. That's the same person that goes to the doctor's office and they go, yeah, this bone on your x-ray is broken. They're like, well, we're going to get a second opinion. And like, there's just some of those people you're never going to convince. And you just got to let them be. And I think if you, as a coach, when I'm talking to other parents, once you try and give them that opinion and you say, hey, I think this is the best thing for your kid. And they kind of go, nah, we're going to entertain this idea. Well, I'm going to move on to the parent that wants me to be involved, that wants to take my advice, that wants, right. That wants the time and effort. That's the same even with a kid, right? Like, it's hard to like coach the one kid who doesn't want to be coached or can't be coached. You go and you focus time on the kid that's receptive and the kid that you think is coachable. Like, that's just pattern of life. And sometimes that's hard to fight. It's easier to fight with the parents because you just, whatever. All right, good luck. Sorry.
Hey, Kirk, you mentioned earlier about having some national bound girls team. Talk a little bit about girls youth hockey, and do girls and boys start together and then ultimately the girls get their own teams at a certain age? What's that look like?
Yeah. So we kind of had this initiative like 4 or 5 years ago. I'm trying to think, I'm looking up like stuff written on the wall, but we felt like it was necessary to grow girls hockey in Anchorage. Right. And so we, like Anchorage Hockey Association, has become kind of like the premier girls program. We have girls specific skates once a month, right, that are just a time for girls to get together. And we found a couple things. One, girls want to play with other girls. And two, up through 8U, they should play with boys too. Like, so there should be, we just have co-ed teams all the way up through boys. We do special stuff. We actually have a tournament called the Ponytail Tournament that happens once a year in April, and it's only girls, and it runs from 8U all the way up to 16U. And then we kind of start, actually this upcoming season is the first season we may entertain having a girls only team at a birth year other than, or an age division other than national bound. Other than that, girls go play girls hockey at 14U, right? When you have girls national bound teams. We do that at the comp and rec levels. So.
Yeah, Drew and I over the past couple of years, we have had the privilege of coaching some girls on our high school teams. And we were really, really good friends with a tier 2 coach. Her name's Rachel Bartlett, and she is in that once the girls hit 13U, 14U, we have a couple of really good options here in St. Louis. But what I've found is, girls tend to mature physically faster than boys. So even through 12U, as we've coached co-ed teams, some of our best players or our most competitive players at that, 10, 11, 12-year-old were the girls. And then we've had a chance to coach 3 girls on our JV hockey team at high school. And they're some of the most, they relish the opportunity to go out there and play with the boys and show what they can do. And when we sat down with Rachel, she says it best. She says, girls need to feel good to play well. Boys feel good when they play well. And so there's this, it's just another thing as a coach, as you go through this journey of being a hockey coach or really, a mentor, whether it's hockey or football, baseball, or math or what have you, learning how to communicate with all the different types of people out there, whether they're boys or girls or what have you. That's been just a gift, I think, at least for me as a coach. And it sounds like you guys have, you've got a great program that you're looking to expand on. I think it's just awesome.
We actually have a spring girls program we call the Alaska Firebirds. The Alaska Firebirds started, a long time ago, and then it kind of died off as an organization. And then we just brought it back underneath the Anchorage Hockey Association as the kind of like Alaska spring girls program. And so we have all these teams that are going to go play in Chicago at the Chi-Town Shuffle. And I'll actually be there coaching the 14U girls team. And it's the only time of year I ever coach like just an all girls team, and it's coaches and players from all over the state. And it's really cool to see how competitive and how good the girls are. But yeah, I agree with you. Like it's awesome to have them in that environment. And I feel like over the years that I've had girls at like the 12U major level last year or 12U level, they've just been unbelievably coachable, and it's funny to watch them go in a corner and be like, there's no way this boy's coming out this.
Last minute of play in this period.
Well, we'll definitely see you up in April. So that's fantastic that you're traveling. How cool you're doing it, coaching the girls. This is fantastic. We love hearing about how the game is, especially girls.
Got to pay one more bill. So if you've got a few minutes to give us, we're going to pay one more bill, and we'll be back in about 2-3 minutes. Kirk, it's been great, and we'll be right back.
This segment of Too Many Men on the Mic is brought to you by Big Bear Tournaments. Just because the winter weather is coming to an end doesn't mean the hockey stops. Sign up for your team with Big Bear Tournaments for one or more of their spring 2026 events. Starting April 24th through May 15th, join them at their prime spring locations, which include Chicago, Ann Arbor, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and Lake Tahoe. Exact dates and full details can be found at bigbeartournaments.com. As always, tell them Too Many Men on the Mic sent you and receive exclusive savings. That's bigbeartournaments.com.
And if you're watching on our YouTube channel and you see the Big Bear logo, up in the right-hand corner is a QR code you can scan to go directly to their tournament listings. Thank you to Big Bear for sponsoring Too Many Men on the Mic.
We are back with Kirk with the Anchorage Youth Hockey Association. Kirk, we've been talking about Alaska youth hockey and boys and girls, a great tournament, fantastic President's Day tournament that you shared with us. Tell us a little bit about you. Where did you start your hockey journey, and what were some of your stops along the way?
So I have a weird journey in a sense of, I mean, I'm a typical Alaska kid, played hockey growing up. Never, I came from a poor family. My younger brother, significantly better than me, just pure natural talent. He always got to play on the better teams. And so recognizing I wasn't going to go anywhere with hockey, I went straight into the Marines out of high school.
Thank you. Thank you for your service.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure that's molded a lot. So tell us about that.
It did. It was great. I went in leadership wise, I was a natural. So I got meritorious promoted every rank and just was I could have gone 20 years, no problem. But I finished up as a close quarters battle instructor chief in Chesapeake, Virginia. And by the time I was there, I'd kind of gone through a couple deployments. Kid was born, 10 days later out to Afghanistan, normal story. And I'd come back from another training event, and my wife was just like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be a statistic, so I'll make you a deal. If we can move back to Alaska and I can coach hockey, I'll get out. Done. Sure enough, find myself back in Alaska in 2014.
There we go.
Of all people, I find Barrett Ice running Learn to Skate at the Diamond Center. And I'm like, hey, how do I get involved? And he goes, can you skate? And I was like, I used to. And so then I was that dad that we'd kind of joked about earlier. I was like, I'm learning from Barrett High School. We got drafted in the NHL. And so from there, my journey kind of just took off with coaching. I learned a lot underneath him and kind of grew and became the Learn to Skate director, Learn to Play director. And then I was the 8 and under director. And now I'm kind of like the 8 and under director, but it's like a full-time thing. Just kind of not what I expected to be doing after what I was doing in the Marines by any means whatsoever. But it's cool. And thankfully I have a good, I married up. I got a strong wife. So she's been my backbone throughout this entire journey, and got to be around my kids for, all their stuff, which is great too.
Well, I mean, my father was in the military. My grandfather was a Marine as well. And, I imagine that you were probably, on cruises for 6 months at a time at certain times. And you were probably stationed, were you overseas at all, or were you all just stationed here in the United States?
Yeah, I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan a few times.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. I got to imagine that, those life lessons, are informing you, but I also got to figure putting those boards up for 8U and having to control some of those 8U kids is probably a challenge as well. So, I mean, so
they probably have an 8U ODR.
I mean, I'm sure I hope you guys. Do you guys have ODRs for the organization, or are they just like you said in your backyard?
We don't have any rinks that we own as an organization. But there's so many around, and they're so well maintained that you can pretty much go skate wherever you want. And I'd say, that's probably one thing about Alaskan kids you can't replicate anywhere else is they could be -15.
Right.
They're just out there ripping, playing, 15 on 15 at the community rink and whatnot. And it's a true testament. I mean, Scotty Gomez, that where he grew up playing outside, it's a huge story. And it really is like identifies Alaska.
Well, and in Alaska, you can't say you got to come home when the streetlights come on, because in the wintertime they're always on. So, it's just such a unique and beautiful state. And I'm so impressed with just having played against an Alaska team, at nationals. And then just that story you were telling about where you guys in Fairbanks, flew all that way to end up playing each other in a championship game down in Florida. Talk a little bit about your, you were the ADM, director for Alaska. What's your interaction with USA Hockey like? We have a monthly spot where Bob Mancini and folks from his team come onto our podcast and talk about all these different topics of what makes the game great and how we can make it greater. What are some of those things and some of those initiatives on the horizon that you're trying to do, or that you're a part of, to continue to, grow this game? I mean, 700 kids in your program. I imagine you want to get to 1,000. So talk a little bit about that.
I mean, I wish we could take better advantage of like the Try Hockey for Free Day. I mean, it's kind of, for us specifically, it's kind of just in a bad spot in our season or the way we're structured up here. Mm-hmm. But I think USA Hockey is doing a great job of incentivizing people to get in the game. It'd be nice. Like I said, I think that's the biggest one that we need to take more advantage of. Pacific Districts was just up here. And so we had quite a few USA Hockey reps that were up here running around, getting to see all the rinks and getting to see how everything was running. And so it was good to get all that input from them as well.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, Bob Mancini is all about fun. So how do you keep things light? You got kids that want to, we talked about it earlier, that want to follow kids maybe that are leaving the state and want to keep up and want to move to the next level. But how do you take the air out of that and just keep fun? What do you do to make practices fun that you're around?
Could we backtrack a little bit and talk about that? So Bob Mancini specifically?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Bob was one of our very first guests.
Yeah.
I don't even know if Bob would remember this, but so I got asked to be the ADM guy for USA Hockey for Alaska by Daryl Thompson, and I love Daryl. Daryl's a great guy. He's the president of Alaska State Hockey Association right now. And Daryl goes, "Hey, Kirk, we're going to send you to the NARS." I'm like, "What's that?" North or whatever. You're going to go to Columbus. You're going to do a class for 5 days and whatnot. And you're going to learn about how to be a hockey director. I was like, "Cool, I'm down." Whatever. So we fly there. But mind you, I'm like 2 or 3 years out of the Marines. Phenomenal shape, right? I used to be able to just go like whatever, eat nails. I could run forever. I was really strong, the whole 9 yards. Feel like I was in incredible shape. We're going through all this stuff, and I'm like, old school hockey, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do all these station-based stuff." I'm like, "What do you mean? You're gonna play the game in a quarter sheet of the ice? What do you mean small area game? No, well, we gotta do breakouts and like all this other stuff, right?" I was old school, and so they put us on the ice as like a class, and we were the students, we were the 10U players for this station-based practice they were gonna run. Dude, I was gassed in 15 minutes. And you had full-grown men playing 2-on-2 games with ringettes and tires in the corner. And I'm looking at one of the other guys from Alaska. I'm like, "Did you bring a water bottle?" So, and of course, Bob Mancini's there, and he's running stuff. And so I got to look up to Bob and kind of like, and I got to tell him this story about how like I was a physical specimen, and I was just I was gassed. I don't know how else to describe it. Bob's there with his marker drawn on the ice, telling us to do stuff. And I was just like, oh man, I can't wait to get out of here and drink a beer and just because my legs are gonna hurt. Just
Well, Bob will drink a beer with you for sure. Bob's just a phenomenal. We had the pleasure of talking to Bob, and I got to see him in person and chat with him in Columbus at level 5 this year. He will tell you the story about as he was helping to really champion the ADM, and he's from Michigan, as am I. And you talk about old school hockey, like I call it table hockey. It's you stay in your lane, you're up and down the ice, and let's work a breakout 16 different times and make a 60-foot pass. And he says like he had friends who didn't want to be associated with him, and he was getting hate mail. And then all of a sudden, you had mentioned the NTDP. We start getting kids that are developing, and it's just we see it. The kids now who are playing B-level hockey are better than the kids who were playing A-level hockey 15 years ago. They're more skilled, and their idea of how to play the game, it's just a lot more fun. And I love hearing those stories from different coaches and directors around the country like yourself. Bob tells us this story where, an okay coach will see his kids doing snow angels on the ice, and he'll be like, hey, stop doing that. A good coach will go over there and say, hey, those are great snow angels. But a great coach will just get on the ice and start doing snow angels with the kid. And it sounds like you are fitting that mold and trying to build that up in Alaska. And my hat's off to you, man. It just sounds like you're having a blast up there. And I'm so happy for you. And more importantly, I'm happy for those kids. Thank you. Well, as a tradition, whenever we have a coach or a director on, and this is everybody from USA Hockey directors who are giving us, these great drills to Mike coaches. We ask them if you want a whiteboard and if you've got a drill for us. So if you've got about another 5 minutes here, I'll pull up a virtual whiteboard and we'll pull up Coach Kullberg's play of the or drill of the week. Does that sound like a good idea? Yeah, sure. Cool. Let's do that. Make sure you can see my screen. Yep. All right. So the floor is yours, Senator. Tell me what to do and where to put it. So in traditional fashion, I'm a big game guy. And when you ask me like what how do I keep it fun, is like I like to play games that I want to play. And I figure I'm at the same maturity level as about a squirt or a peewee. And so and Mike's gonna like it too. So I'd say we're just gonna use one end of the zone there. We're gonna put 2 nets back to back right in between the hash marks. Okay. So 2 nets back to back between the hash marks. I'm going to say like right here. Yeah, perfect. And then and by the way, this is Drift Hockey, which is drifthockey.com. It's a great app that not only allows you to whiteboard, but it combines IHS, Team Snap, Huddle, all in one spot. It's a great tool that we started using this year. As I said, I like that. That's slick. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, I'll show you. We got a whole library. So we got nets like that. Perfect. Okay, now I take 3 players from me on each team and kind of make myself a little umbrella on each side. Okay. So let's go blue and red. And so I'm going to go blue players first, umbrella on this side. Spread it out. Spread it out like from here to above the dot. Up. Yeah, perfect. And then put one up top center, right above the hash mark. Bam, and one on the other side. Yep, perfect. And then I do that. Okay. With some red players too. Other side, different color? Please. Yes, sir. All right. All right. Cool. And then we add in 2 more players from each team, and those are kind of like our rovers. So they can kind of like go right here. They can go wherever they want. Yeah, and we don't say that these kids are necessarily stuck here. But this is a power play game I like to play. Okay. You can run 2-on-2 either way, and then you got to leave 3 players in the offensive zone, and those players can switch out back and forth. So let's call these guys. All right, So these guys right here, these 2 guys can go anywhere. Yep. All right, let's put this. Oh, why does it keep doing that? And then let's go. They can skate anywhere, right? Yep. We'll kind of go like this, and we'll go like this, and like this, and like this, and then we'll come over here, and this guy can go like this, like this, like this. Like that. Good?
Yep.
Okay. What's next? Where's our pucks?
And I put a pile of pucks on the blue line with a coach.
Okay.
And I screwed up. I didn't tell you. I didn't add enough rover players. You get 2 rover players per team.
Perfect. We got plenty of guys we can throw in there. So here's another guy, and here's another guy. And we'll let them kind of be our rovers. And perfect. Okay.
Yep. And so now what I do with this kind of setup is I can manipulate, whatever the lesson I want to teach them. So let's just say I want like switches are the next thing, right?
We have goalies.
Oh, yes, sir.
Gotcha. And red goalies on this side, blue goalies on that side? Or is it
the other side. Blue shoots at the red goalie. Yeah, perfect.
Cool. All right. And so you're playing 2-on-2 with support on the outside for both sides.
Yep. And then I just progress rules. So, sometimes I'll grab a kid from one team and just take him out. So it's it ends up being a 5-on-4. They can run across the line however they want, as long as they leave their 3 players behind or whoever.
Yep.
And then shots have to be initiated from one-timers or whatever. So we have so many different variations of rules we play with this game that it just depends on what we want to teach that day. One of my favorite ones, like I said, is switches.
Mm-hmm.
So kid carries the puck into his offensive zone, and they can't shoot the puck until he switches with one of the defenders or one of the umbrella players.
Gotcha. So it's almost like a scissor play.
Yeah. And so now where the hockey IQ piece comes into play, or on the transition game, is now that kid who he switched. So now he's got to go play D as the game transitions it back into the other offensive zone.
I love it. This feels like something we're going to be running Friday. we have practice on. Not only we have a podcast together, we coach together, we're in a band together. So
perfect.
We got practice
good
on
team.
Friday. Well, we got our Fridays and Thursdays figured out. So
there you go.
What do you call this drill? We want to make sure we're naming it correctly here for you.
I think we should come up with a name. I just call it the power play game. But
How about,
I think we should come up with a new name for it right now, and it's Christen that forever.
Well, I like it. How about let's give it the too many men progression. I like too many men progression. Kullberg's too many men.
Too many men.
Kullberg's too many men. Because you got 2-on-2. There's too many men on one side. I think we got to call it Kullberg's too many men. And I'll come back in and I'll put out some of the descriptions and some of the tags we got here. It feels like we've got we've got support. We've got hockey IQ. What else would we call it? What else we want to throw in there? Definitely got are you dumping a puck in so that the Rovers can compete?
Yeah.
So we've got compete.
And I've actually ran this with 8U players before.
That's awesome. I mean, we're going to run this
complicated, but it's like, it's fun.
Well, I love it. Kullberg's too many men. I'm saving it right now. We're going to put it in the library, and this will be on our website. I'll clean it up a little bit. And if you ever want drills, give us a holler. We've got tons, and all of our drills are focused in on having fun. That's the biggest thing.
Awesome.
Having fun, because our biggest job is make sure they're coming back next year. That's the biggest thing. So, well, Kirk, we can't thank you enough for joining us tonight. Man, I feel like I got to get up to Alaska and get to this tournament and maybe help run a couple practices up there. So I hope you had a lot of fun tonight. I know I had a blast talking to you.
Yeah,
Coach, what do you think?
Thanks for joining us and sharing all the great things going on in Alaska. It's been fantastic.
I really appreciate you guys having me. And like I said, it's an honor to be a part of the podcast, and wish you guys the best luck. If you ever want to, come up here, you let me know. We'll make sure you get taken care of.
Well, do us a favor, man. Share it with your folks in your organization. Please subscribe to our channel and check out our website, 2manymenonthemic.com. We've got a lot of content out there, all of our episodes you can download, and then some other, tons of drills that, we're getting from some of the best coaching minds in the country. So, we're thieves, and that's the best way to be a coach is you take great ideas from everybody else. So
no one's come up with anything new. They're just changing a name or one piece. Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Kirk, have a great rest of the evening, and good luck the rest of the year, and good luck to your Natty-bound teams.
Wonderful. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, Kirk.
Take care.
Yeah.
That was a good one, man.
That was.
That was a good one.
I like it. We coined a drill that didn't have a name.
Love it.
We've got an opportunity to mess around with it in practice. We've learned about Alaska youth hockey. Amazing that kids in Alaska also are looking to go somewhere else. But it seems to me like they've got a really good culture there. So much so that they've got hundreds of teams that are coming to their youth hockey tournaments. So great stuff.
Well, and I just think it's amazing to me that, you've got a D1 program up there. You've got 3 null teams. And I still just go back, how cool is it that the 2 teams go to Florida to play in nationals and end up playing each other. I mean, right? just a testament. And, I loved Kirk's story at the end there. I think that a lot of hockey folks, whether your moms or dads and coaches, can relate to that. And he just has a great background that I think just gives him this unique opportunity to really help these kids be great humans. That's 2 weeks in a row where the foundation is great humans playing hockey. And I think USA hockey's in great hands, not, Olympics notwithstanding, but it's guys like Kirk and organizations like Anchorage that make it go.
And he had a good Bob Mancini story. So that just tells you that the fun is spread all the way to Alaska.
Well, we're going to step away here, and after some technical difficulties in our new digs, we're excited to be hosting this show on a weekly basis. Again, find us on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Head over to if you're on YouTube right now, please share this with friends, and go check out our Instagram page, Too Many Men Podcast. That's the word TWO. Coach, I think we shot. I think we scored. Heck of a game today, and we'll see you guys all next week.
See you next week.